And good night to you, ladies and gentlemen. This is Marcia Weeks, and you are watching the Marcia Weeks show. And we are coming to you live from Barbados, beautiful Barbados. Oh, to the world, to the world, to the world. How are you doing on this beautiful Sunday evening, July 6th? Can you believe it's already the 6th of July? Oh my goodness, it was just January the other day. It's now July 6th, ladies and gentlemen. Can you believe that? Time is flying. I hope we're having fun. It says time flies when we're having fun. So I'm really hoping that we're having super fun tonight. Well, you know what? We're going to go right into the national anthem, and then we're going to go into greeting you all. Please remember to like and to share. Remember, like, share, to subscribe, all of those good things. We are depending on you to do that. Okay. All right, so let us stand for the playing of the national anthem of Barbados. Guardians of our heritage, firm craftsmen of our faith. And those of you who are just joining us and you're not from Barbados, you just heard the national anthem of Barbados. And this is the national flag of Barbados. And actually, tonight, we're going to have a session with a segment with the great Rose Corbin, who we supposed to have had for so long, but had so many issues, varying issues why she couldn't be on. The last was, electricity and Wi-Fi, etc. But she's all scheduled to be on tonight, and so she's going to be talking about the emblems tonight. And we also have Maxine McLean will come on and talk about the youth and job creation, etc. And Mr. GLYNE Murray, Sunday night is his night, and we're looking forward to an amazing session with him as well. Now, I did tell you, I did invite some of you here, and I told you that I personally want to have a talk with with you about Patrick King, and I'm very serious about it. And so if you know him personally and can ask him to join, send him the link, because I would love to hear him, to hear what it is I have to say. And I don't know if any of the other panelists have anything to say. I know that I personally have something to say to Patrick King tonight, so I'm going to ask, send a link to him, please. I'm very serious. And if it is a case where would he want to come on the show, if you know him personally and Patrick King would want to come on the show tonight or to call in, be free to call in tonight. We would love to have him. Seriously. And that's a serious request. That's not bogus at all. I would love to have a conversation with Mr. Patrick King. If you know him personally and can get the link to him or the telephone number to him. But we are going towards the latter part of the show. I'm going to personally address that issue that is out there in social media. But let me use the time to just quickly welcome Monica and Judy and Bage and Boy and Lucinda, Aline and Flo Joe. Good evening. Have you liked and shared? We need your help. Teroni, Marcia, Shirley, another Joy and Faith, Lori Bob, Pauline Maynard. How are you? Hustler. I haven't seen that name before. Erskine Watson, M. Gardner. Good night. Mystic Angel, Marva Hunt. Excuse me, Queen D, ADG, Tony Paris, Sanchez, VI, Cami, Antonia Gittens. Yes, Antonia. Let's see here. Michael Jokes, Judith Ann Clark. Good evening. Good evening to you all. It is a pleasure to have you here with us. And just before Mrs. Rose Corbin joins us this evening, I have a little video that I saw online, and I thought that it would be great to look at this just quickly. So go ahead, Dave. Thank you so much. Not hearing as yet. Yes, thank you.
No, I just attended my son's graduation. He's now officially going to secondary school. I'm happy and proud. So we going to the graduation this morning. They had a opening speech and then the national anthem. I thought the national anthem should have been first and then the speech, but that's just my opinion. So there's a lady in front of me who stood for the speech, but she did not stand for the national anthem. And I noticed very clearly she did not have a prosthesis. She did not have any challenges as far as I could see. She wasn't challenged. She didn't come in a wheelchair. So then she come in church and she walk in, she can stand up for a national anthem that's 3 minutes. Then, though, as I heard her speak later, she was a Jamaican. And I saying to myself, guys, can't disrespect, even as a Barbadian, that our national anthem is playing, and you sitting down. But who am I to say that your woman foot there hurt she? But you're walking church. And then when I left, I made a point to peep she walked very good and won't get the refreshments. So I trying to figure out how, as a Barbadian, how do we deal with that? Do I make a citizen arrest? Like God is to myself, listen, you want to stand up for the national anthem? You go and stand up and they put my hand on she, that be wrong with me. So how would the law deal with that? In a public forum, how do we deal with that as Barbadians? A Jamaican national not standing for our national anthem. Now let me say this. If we had to be in Jamaica or England, Venezuela, and they hear national anthem, and they look around and see everybody standing at attention, I would do likewise. What's your take on that, people? Feel free to drop some comments. You heard it, it's a wrap.
I think that is a fitting video to play before Mrs. Rose Corbin joins us to talk about the emblems. I want to hear your thoughts about that. So his story is that he was at a graduation and there was someone who he believed and seemed that the person was able-bodied. They weren't in a wheelchair, and the anthem was played, and this person sat down for the entire time. Turns out that the person in question is a Jamaican. And this Jamaican person, according to this gentleman, sat down for the entire time while the anthem is played. Now, I can tell you this, folks, that I have been, even when we played the anthem at the marches, and if I see somebody's moving, I touch them and tell them, no, you can't move now. So I am surprised that that gentleman would have sat behind someone and not speak to them about standing up for the national anthem of your country. That was gross disrespect. And I tell you something, I don't think that a Jamaican would allow you at an official event to sit down while the national anthem of Jamaica is playing. And I'm saying to Barbadians, that is something that everybody should have tapped the person, because sometimes what I find is like sometimes when people I've had occasions where people, they don't know it's the national anthem of Barbados because they're not from Barbados. And I've seen even on the street or wherever we're doing it, and if I motion to them to stop, they're like, oh, okay, they didn't know, right? So I am saying, what I'm saying is this, that I would say to that gentleman, what I would say is that you should have said something to this person. You should have said something. I do it all the time. And I don't believe that the anthem should be playing and you're walking up and down and talking and eating and all of these different things that people do. It's disrespectful. And it's terrible that that Jamaican person did not stand up for the playing of the national anthem of Barbados. Let me tell you, I can't see that happening in an official setting, a graduation, in anywhere in Jamaica. I can't see that happening. Should we give that person the benefit of the doubt that they might not have known it was the national anthem of Barbados? We could. So I don't know if they knew or not. So I'm saying to Barbadians, whether it is your fellow Barbadian or whoever it might be, the national anthem is playing. There should be respect given to the national anthem of Barbados, all the emblems. We need to respect the emblems of the country. And those who come into the country, that should be what is demanded of them. Yeah, it's total disrespectful, Queen D. And Vihoy and Mrs. Corbin, okay, I think she's ready, but she's not going to turn on her camera tonight. But if everyone is standing, why would you sit? That could mean that either they don't understand or because I stopped a Barbadian already, Vihoy, and from walking, and they said, oh, no, it's not my religion. He was Muslim, and he told me, I hope I don't get myself in trouble, but that's what the guy told me, that it's not part of his religion. I stopped him right there in front of Parliament because I do that on a regular occasion. I am not going to be anywhere and any part or any part of the emblems or any one of the emblems. Am I saying that? Any of the emblems, I see any disrespect happening around and not say anything. I wasn't brought up that way. So I stopped the person right there in front of Parliament, and they said, "Oh no, it's not my religion to stand at attention at the anthem." And I'm thinking, wow, and you live in the people's country. And he walked away. Yeah. Yeah. Now, that's a good question, though. Yes, Nigel. The last thing I'll say, and I think Mrs. Corbin will, I'm going to put her in, and because I know she's not going to turn on her camera tonight, but, and if Dave could have her presentation ready. Um, Nigel, you are correct. That is the question that I ask. Where is the outrage? Where is the outrage from a lot of these people? When the national flag, Nigel says buried, I will say lowered in a grave. Where is the outrage that the prime minister is representing you in at the United Nations and not wearing your emblem? Where's the outrage for that? Nigel, I thank you. I said the same thing today, that if we could get that kind of outrage, the prime minister did that, lowered the flag in Ghana. Flag touched the ground, deliberately touched the ground, came back to Barbados. And guess what? No official, nobody said anything to the prime minister. The prime minister does not wear the flag as an emblem on her left breast like everybody else, all the other countries. And there's some people that one person said, oh, she could wear whatever she wants to wear. We have to make up our mind, right? We have to make up our mind on what is it really? Are we serious about the emblems? Yeah. And I don't think Nigel is speaking. Well, I take it as not necessarily of this particular man, but the kind of outrage, national outrage, was needed concerning that flag. So let's put it, because we are saying that that it might not, he might have not stood up. But what I'm using Nigel's comment to say that we needed national outrage. We needed national outrage. We needed the law, the full extent of the law to be applied in the situation in Ghana. Where are the lawyers? Where are the lawyers of Barbados? Why aren't they saying something about that? Why aren't they standing up about that? And that's why tonight we keep saying, stay alert, open your eyes. Yeah? All right. So let's go to Mrs. Corbin. Good night, Mrs. Corbin.
Good evening, Marcia.
Good evening, ma'am. Welcome. Listen, this is like fine wine. We've been waiting on this presentation, and I'm so happy you could join us tonight.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Marcia, for obliging me to present off camera, and to those who share with us online. I thank you for allowing me to be off camera, but I've got some eye allergies, and I would be a sight for poor eyes with on camera, but it in no way would take away from what I want to share, Marcia. And we did not compare notes, did we? Not at
Never.
all. But it's quite interesting where um, that video that you showed, and it allows me a good point of entry. So thank you very much. What they say, great minds think alike. Could we say that without being pompous, or without
Not at
being
all.
big headed, as it were? But this brings us into, so good night, loyal sons and daughters all, firm craftsmen of our faith. Um, Lines from our dear national anthem. And the national anthem is specifically addressed in the laws and acts of Barbados.
Hmm.
Um, and there are specific, let's talk about the national anthem. Um, you know that we would have had going into a fortnight ago this week, that town hall meeting on emblems, symbols, and celebrations.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to go ad nauseum on it. I think that Kathy and Paul did a very good report
Yes.
on what happened. But I want to say that I found it a very useful exercise. I learned a lot. I learned quite a lot in preparing for my attendance and presentation at the same town hall meeting. And it has whet my appetite to even go further in
Mm-hmm.
my study and research on these things that are dear to us, dear to the Barbadian public, whether you are a born Barbadian, whether like you, Marcia, you have been embraced through love and marriage and made Barbados your home and want to protect and preserve the country in which you now live and where you've given birth to three wonderful sons. Um, there are things that we must respect, appreciate, and stand up literally and figuratively for. And here on the national anthem, um, they are saying that the national anthem shall be played for ceremonial purposes, etc., and come down. It should not be parodied, meaning changed up. It should not be used for the purpose of advertising. It should not be played as music for any dance. The national anthem shall be played at a tempo, and they say how it should be played. And where there's a shortened version of the national anthem is played, it shall consist of the first 12 bars of the verse and the last 4 bars of the chorus. At any time when the national anthem is being played, subject to instruction given to persons in uniform, every person shall stand at attention, and all males shall remove their head dress. So, men, when you hear the national anthem, you should remove that cap or hat. And it does not happen. And if you contravene these, you can be fined. A fine not exceeding $500 or imprisonment for a term not exceeding the month, 6 months, or both. But we, Marcia, don't take these emblems. We don't take the national anthem, and the emblems would be things like the coat of arms, the flag, um, the coat of arms, and the flag. Yes. Am I forgetting any? But these are the major ones. And these should be taken with a degree of seriousness. And even although I was never taught in 1966 as we were transitioning from under the British monarchy to an independent, a British colony to an independent nation, the importance and seriousness of that national anthem were all emphasizing us. And as I said at the town hall meeting, I was beaten at St. Philip's Girls' School by the then headmistress, who was the music teacher, Miss Hall, and her assistant, Miss Mosley, and my class teacher, Miss Dash, all, all passed for that national anthem. And it was boring. It was hard to learn initially, that rhythm and pulling it all together, but there was a sense of urgency that was passed on to us, that we had to learn these words and be able to sing it as it was on the music sheet, beat for beat, space for space, whatever. I'm not a musician, but there was a sense of urgency and reverence and respect for these emblems and for the national anthem. So I'm just putting that in there, that right here, Marcia, if you go to the official website, you will see on the cap 300A, National Emblems and National Anthem of Barbados regulations. So, gentlemen who are listening, and you are prone to keep that cap on or that hat on, not you should remove it. Not only the armed forces, but you should remove that hat and stand, that headgear, and stand at attention. Okay, Marcia, could we move now into this whole thing of the flag? But before you do, Marcia, pre allow me to just to do a little background as to why um the remains were taken to Ghana. I don't know if you've done that historical connection or overview, but just allow me a couple minutes to give a background so that those people out there who think that we didn't want that symbolic a symbolic exchange between the nations to occur, and that we're anti-prime minister for doing it. Let's contextualize it. Now, in my research, in 1998, the remains of former slaves, a Samuel Carson from New York and Crystal from Jamaica, were buried at the door, at the site of the door of no return. It is now called the door of return, and it is at a town called Asin Mansour. It was the last stopping point for slaves before, where they were sold and made clean for their transatlantic journey to the Americas as well as to the Caribbean islands. Now, this place, Asin Mansour, is in the central region of Ghana along the Cape Coast, where and it is said to be one of the largest towns along that coast where slaves were sold and shipped out. Now, in 1998, Ghana celebrated its first Emancipation Day. Actually, Trinidad was ahead in 1985. The Caribbean has always been trendsetters. So in 1998, Ghana had its first Emancipation Day, and it was an act between undertaken by a descendant of Samuel Carson, that African slave. His descendant was Sonny Carson, a black Pan-Africanist, a black activists in New York who took the remains back to be buried. Now, Marcia, I've been doing extensive research to find out if they had it wrapped in the American flag, and you know that would not have happened. So I have seen nothing to say that these remains were taken to be interred in the manner in which the ones from here were taken.
Rose, Mrs. Cor, if I could just, because I'm
Yes,
very
please.
familiar with what you're sharing, because
Please do.
in our film Joseph, we actually honored the person in the historian in Jamaica who took the remains to Ghana, who took that person. Her name is Miss Minnie, and
Yes,
we spoke with her family, etc. So I'm very acquainted with that. And just quickly, so you could get back in your presentation.
that's all right.
There was the flag, the Jamaican flag was not lowered in the ground. I can tell you that now. And also, it took them years, Mrs. Corbin, years for them to be able to get those remains to Ghana, because just the protocol of it, it took years and years. And that's why I said on this show that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Mrs. Corbin, reached out to me to ask me how to get these remains to Ghana that they were planning. And I told him, I don't know. I had a film. So what I did in honoring Miss Minnie was acting. So it was just bones we got in Ghana, animal bones. So I have no clue. I just know it's a lot of protocol, lots of red tape. So that is, and I can tell you, ma'am, there was no flag was put in the ground and lowered in the ground, the U.S. flag nor the Jamaican flag. Just so you know. So, but continue, please.
I thank you for that interjection. So you confirmed I have spent hours, Marcia, trying to find out how it was done. And I have seen no reference. And that was back in 1998 in celebration of the first Emancipation Day in Ghana. Now, Marcia, may I ask Dave to show us that YouTube clip that I sent on the site, the ancestral site in Ghana. It is called the Ancestral Slave River Park in Asin Manso. Could we have some audio, please? Thank you.
That is why, as you can see in the graveyard, we have the mortal remains of our two great ancestors. From the right, Madam Crystal from Kingston, Jamaica, representing the West Indies. And in the middle is Samuel Carson from New York, US of A. Madam Crystal was a young, beautiful lady who was captured from here but landed in Jamaica as an enslaved African. But she never saw herself as a slave. She rather preferred to die than to be called a slave. While she was in prison in Kingston, Jamaica, she was one of the few females that decided to starve themselves to death in order to push for the abolishment of the slave trade. But when she did so, she endured the worst punishment of her life when she had her teeth all chiseled out in an attempt to force her to feed. The pains was so much for her to bear. In 1830, she lost her life. And according to historian, when she was about to pass on, this was the only thing she said: "Bring me back home someday." I am not sure she knew she would, but somewhere, somehow, her remains has been brought back. In the middle is Samuel Carson, the first African American without any formal education, landed in the U.S. Navy, served with all his strength and might, died at the age of 35 years, but he wasn't given a befitting burial. So on the 31st day of July 1998, the two remains of our ancestors re-entered the country through the infamous door of no return of the Cape Coast dungeons. And immediately they came through that door, the name on that door was changed to the door of return. The following day, being the 1st of August 1998, the two were buried here. Why were they buried here? Because they have to come back to tell those that they left that the journey in the new world was very tough. Fast forward in 2019, it was a year of return celebration. The Prime Minister of Barbados also decided to have representation of this land. So she also excavated most slave cemeteries from Newton, Barbados. All the bones that she had, all the remains, she brought them together in a beautiful casket on the 11th of November 2019, all the way from Barbados. And that's the third tomb you see over here. Immediately after the burial, groups also petitioned that they also wanted to be buried here. But we cannot say no to you because this land equally belongs to you. So inside the graveyard was given out. And today we have 513 ashes on this land. The trade was abolished in 1807, but not slavery. With slavery, I don't know the date. I only know what the book says. That in the US of A, 1865, British colony 1834, French colony 1846, Brazil 1888. But for me, I don't believe slavery has been abolished. It has evolved into a new form. And today we have moved away from slavery in chains and shackles to mental slavery.
Rock on.
And that is why Bob Marley told us we should emancipate ourselves from mental slavery, because none other than ourselves can free our minds. We're going to make a spiritual walk to the river. But when we get to where we'll start the walk, I'll tell you something we have to do before we go. So let's make a short walk to the river.
Hey, Kofi, how about a nice group picture before we end up not doing it right here?
Okay.
How about a nice group picture before we proceed with the walk? All right, so fam, we're on the way to the ancestral river park walk.
Thank you, Marcia. Thank you. We can wrap it there. Thank you. Marcia, for those who think that all we do on this show is to criticize and condemn and find fault and protest, we engage in educating, learning from each other, enlightening each other. Now, it was only drawn to my attention yesterday to go look for these three graves, these three burial sites, and see the one from Barbados, and that it has an inscription with the Prime Minister's name on the inscription. Now, I don't know, Marcia, if you were aware of all this, but I don't think the average Barbadian was, couldn't GIS share this with us then?
So can I ask you a quick question? So the inscription that is on the grave is the Prime Minister's name?
The Prime Minister's name is on the on that grave.
But the others have the name, because I remember when we were there, the others have the names of the enslaved person.
I shall have to get it sometime and actually read what is inscribed on the grave. But you know how they usually have a plaque?
Yes.
Saying, the building was opened on such and such a day, or the plaque was presented by.
Yeah.
On that that stone, the Prime Minister's name. Did you hear the tour guide calling her name?
Yes, but what is interesting, and this is the part that, because I also this is what I did my film on, the Year of Return. I know the names of those enslaved persons. Some person from the US, Jamaica was first, Crystal, and then the name of that enslaved person was
Carson,
Crystal,
Samuel Carson.
and the other one was Samuel Carson. You see, we have those names. What was interesting is that we were never told the name of the enslaved person from Barbados, and this is
No.
why I will just say to Mrs. Corbin that when I spoke with the Ministry of Tourism in Ghana, and they were telling me about this, I was laughing to myself because they really believed that it's an actual person, you see. And that this what you're saying. I didn't know what name was inscribed on like the headstone then for Barbados, because I can tell you it will have to be a made up name, because
Yeah.
it's not real. It's they Anyway, let you go ahead.
So that the on the I don't want to say tombstone, on the grave, that inscription, like how you were going to a graveyard, and if you were trying to trace genealogy or such, like that is it's written there. And Marcia, as I was thinking of this, I could understand in 1998, when the significance, when Ghana was celebrating for the first time Emancipation Day. I could understand the getting it back and connecting. But what was the significance for Barbados? And I did my research. In 2019, Ghana celebrated two major events: the 62nd Independence Day and the Year of Return, Ghana 2019, as you would know. Now, the Year of Return was a major initiative. Listen, Marcia, and the audience, encouraging people of the African diaspora to visit Ghana. It was launched to mark the 400th anniversary of the first recorded enslaved Africans arriving in Virginia, US of A.
Mhm.
The initiative, under the theme "The Year of Return," aimed to celebrate the resilience of the African diaspora and encourage investments in Ghana. Tell me the significance. It was a socio-economic initiative to boost tourism, to boost their economy, and
Yes.
to bring back the peoples who were scattered and who have a connection through descendants with Ghana. And therefore, that was the aim, to go to Ghana, to encourage investment in Ghana. And it was spearheaded by the Ghana Tourism Authority and other
Yeah.
partners.
Correct.
You're following.
Very much so.
What was the significance to go to the length? And as I was researching Marcia, I heard the song in my head: anything you can do, I can
can
do
do it too.
better.
But Mrs. Corbin, you're firing me up tonight, and it's a reason I asked you. Every other show is being, the unseen hand leading our show. But can I tell you this? Because you probably wouldn't even know the kind of history that Dave and I would have with this issue here. All of this is this, what you just said. Anything you can do, I can do it better. That's one of the reasons. And the other one was about it's how everything is done, what's a propaganda and media and blitz, and that was what that was all about, because they knew they had no name for that enslaved person. They knew, they just went down to the burial ground and they went anywhere and dug up whatever and took it. It was of nobody. However, and I said it on the show the other night, Mrs. Corbin, the people of Ghana, they bought it and they thought that there were remains in that casket. I'm telling you, because I have had to speak to people there. They believed it, Mrs. Corbin. This was for clout. This was so that when she went there, her visit would have been elevated above the other leaders who went. And so she spoke in Parliament when she was there, and didn't, yeah. But let me just leave that alone. I will leave that alone. Back to you, Mrs. Corbin. Let me not take up your
And
time.
so my thing is, what investments have been made? This was an initiative between the Ghana Tourism Authority. What significance? I could see it happening for an emancipation. 1998 emancipation, everybody's going back to celebrate the liberation of the enslaved and that, but this is so empty. I have found, I have learned it is not, and one of the discussions I had, why did you not engage the people of Barbados and say, look, we want to go to support Ghana through their initiative on the year of return. We want to take something significant. Couldn't there be an exchange of gifts? Countries usually exchange gifts. Couldn't they have done a gift? Some heraldry which depicts the unbroken link between Barbados and Ghana, get some of our artists to do something that could be put into the same museum, something of significance. Why a burial site to compete with the other two? Couldn't Jamaica represent the region then? Couldn't you say that there's one already from Jamaica? And we are all CARICOM brothers and sisters. And we celebrate with Jamaica that ancestral tie. But here is a gift from the government of Barbados to the government of Ghana to be placed in your museum. And this represents the creatives in our country. Marcia, I am a bright body and in the Senate and an MP up on the board and a consultant. But I'm a Barbadian who I think often outside of the box. Something now, for years, there will be this ongoing discussion about that third grave burial site in Ghana. And I am closing upon this one, Marcia. Ask Dave, please, to show us that still on the covered coffin, casket, whatever it is. And I want to show you something. You notice that there is there, look at our emblem, the national flag, and what comes beneath it. What comes beneath it, Marcia?
That's the kente cloth.
The colors of associated with Ghana. That is an offense How can I know you are bringing a town hall meeting with due respect. I want to say kudos to the organizers of that town hall meeting. Kudos to the chair and the distinguished committee. I find no fault with their qualifications, their status, their personality. I treat them as distinguished, educated citizens of Barbados who have the heart of Barbados within their hearts. But don't come to me and ask for don't come to the Barbadian public asking what can we do, how can we treat these existing symbols and emblems when you have desecrated it. The Prime Minister was there. Her at that time, I think he was the Minister of Foreign Affairs, the Honorable he's now Minister of Health. And I call him the
can't remember.
only.
Oh, you mean Gemot? Yes, Gemot.
Yeah,
Huh?
Walcott.
Walcott.
Yes, the on leave Minister of Health. But at that time, he was the Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Yes.
I am sure that they had persons who could have advised and said, no, Madam Prime Minister, we cannot wrap that with the flag. That's desecrating the flag, and that carries a final conviction. Furthermore, Marcia, and to the listeners, and I want my people to research and read. I just don't say, just don't speculate. Let's get to the facts right here on the same government site. They said the flag should not be used, amongst other things, as a receptacle or to cover any statue or monument. And when on display, should not be allowed to touch anything beneath it. Where is that piece of material, Marcia? Where is it? Isn't it not beneath our flag?
Yeah.
Isn't our flag not touching another piece of material? Number one, it is being abused there and misused because this is not an official ceremonial funeral.
Right.
Of someone who has died in office or someone in the police force or the armed forces or whatever, how that flag should be used for ceremonial purposes to cover a casket or a coffin. But furthermore, here is another offense where the flag is touching something else. And there is a fine for that. Somebody in
what
that
is the fine? What is the fine? What is
fine? Let me go quickly. The fine, I think, is $1,000 and or 1 year in prison. I think that's it.
Okay, we'll check it. Don't worry. I'm sure somebody's going to double check that for us.
Yes, myself.
Yes, so you keep going because of time. Yes.
Right. So, Marcia, not that we are, this is timely because of this thrust now to get us revisit our symbols and our emblems and the national anthem and all the others. Maybe we'll have a chance to come and look at the other areas. But right here before us, we have some blatant offenses against our national emblem. And not only that, we still need to know what was the significance. And I've been listening to the Prime Minister's speeches in Ghana. I've been reading them. And again, it is just a lot of feel good, salutations and greetings and narratives. But it does not go beyond. It does not go beyond the point that that this is a diplomatic commingled with cultural exchanges in the guise really of promoting that economic linkages between Ghana and Barbados. And I love my African continent. I've had the privilege of visiting as a professional member, the professional organization of the Commonwealth.
Yes, yes. And Rose, just let you know, we have 3 minutes, and I did give you an extra 15 minutes because I interjected. So 3 minutes.
I love my African brothers and sisters. I love them. But when we are doing things with them, let us do it properly. And let it not be to the point of trying to create history for yourself. Let history record you as and create your legacy. Tell me why. Have a dialogue with us on what really happened. Yeah. What really happened. And so it comes on the heels of within the context of examining and examining and intervening in and trying to, I don't know, change up what exists, but at the same time change things that you seem to be losing. We seem to be losing. Say we as a nation seem to be losing respect for. And so on that note, I close and thank you, Marcia, for allowing. We did not compare notes, but we really came together with that synergy on these matters of interest to us. Thank you so much, Marcia.
Yes, and a
job well done. Others.
Job well done. And we must I'm going to in fact I have an interview. I'm being interviewed by someone within the year of return in that committee on Monday, and I'm going to get them to take some pictures, Mrs. Corbin, of the headstones. I think that is important because I did not see the Barbadian headstone. And if it really does say, when we create headstone, we're talking about the caption. on the grave. If it really has the prime minister's name on it, I mean, really, we have to ask why, and why the other names of the other countries, prime ministers or president who's not there, is very, very interesting. But thank you. This is very, very well done. Thank you, Mrs. Corbin. And I hope that you will still be up. I know you're not 100%, but if you could still be up towards the end of the program, we're going to about 8:45. We're going to address the issue of Patrick King, and I know you wanted to share some thoughts on that. So feel free to come back in. Just signal to me that you're able to come back in, and I'll be able to put you back in the studio. Okay? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marcia. Thanks, everybody.
Fantastic job. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you.
Yes. Wow, wasn't that awesome, guys? Awesome. Awesome. And a lot that we need to be able to pull. And I would hope we can do this another time on the program with her and the information that I'm going to find in Ghana. And her and I can pull this apart some more, because there's a lot that we need to look at. This, I say, was another trick. The Ghanaians were tricked. This is all that they pomp and pageantry. Don't even let me get started. Let me just get Miss McClean in here, because she knows I've been saying this for a while. Good evening, good night to Miss McClean, and we're just alike again. You're muted.
Hi, good evening. You can hear me now, I trust.
Yes, I can hear you. Great to hear you.
These are similar. I must say these are also the symbol of mourning, but
yes.
I've just seems as though we're losing family and friends rapidly, and I wouldn't go into that. Enough to say that an in-law of mine died yesterday. But Marcia, why y'all do this? I have to say something.
I know, because you were in Ghana with me. Say your bit.
Because my bit might be what's on my mind. Y'all have turned my mind upside down.
You go right ahead.
Let me say to Rose, and good evening. Let me properly acknowledge our audience, the members of the loyal opposition, loyal sons and daughters all. I am very much, and as far as I can remember from my teen days, I have always been a Pan-Africanist. My grandfather on my father's side, and I've shared it on this program in the early days, exemplified this Pan-African spirit by investing in the Black Star Liner. And I, from the time I was a child, saw that certificate and claimed it. And I went through in the claim because the original is with me and not with my brothers or sisters, because I said it was mine. I'm also a child of history. I went to university in the initial days to do history. But let me say to Rose, I'll use a couple Bajan saying, monkey see, monkey do. And the other one that I want, let me see if I hope I didn't forget it, was, the other one will come back to me. In other words, there's one other saying that I want to share in relation to this. And you have been trying, Rose, to understand what prompted what we saw taking place in Ghana in 2019. And my concern, or my observation, and I would say my certain knowledge, was that there was no long exploration, discussion, determination of what. Somebody saw something and decided that they wanted to copy it. I believe Marcia spoke, and in fact, Marcia, remember that I think it may have been 2 shows ago, I said to you that someday we need to speak to
well, we probably need to speak right now, because
and that's why I'm going to speak right now.
And
because
your mama, your Auntie Maxine. So if you tell me to speak, I'm going to speak. So
I will start and you will continue.
So listen, guys. Before you do, I want to say this, folks. I need you. What we're going to share some things with you tonight, and we need you to share and to like and to subscribe. There is a Mr. Neville Brathwaite. That's the name that is coming up. You're putting some important things in the chat, but the chat is moving. I need you to call me privately. This is the number on the screen, Neville Brathwaite. You're telling us some important information about the flag. You're educating us, but it's going so fast. So can you call? You won't be live on air. I will come off and get the information so I can properly share it with the others. Can you do that, please? So important. Go ahead, Miss McClean.
Yeah, and as I was saying, Rose, 2019 was the year of return in Ghana, and you sought to identify what was the rationale from the perspective of the government and people of Ghana. It was an opportunity to engage the African diaspora, the Ghanaian diaspora, and the wider African diaspora. And obviously there were clear economic benefits to be realized. Some of them continue. That year also coincided with a certain young lady sitting across from me on the screen, along with her dear husband. As you know, Marcia is into film, and Marcia took the bold step to do what I consider to have been path-breaking work, and that was to produce a movie which would have spanned Jamaica, Barbados, and Ghana. And I mean, for a small independent film producer, that was a bold step. As I said, I have not seen anybody in Barbados do like that. Somehow, the information of that movie, you know, there's a script and all of that.
Yes.
The script, somebody probably got sight of it, word of its contents or something.
I'm going to tell the truth.
Well, yeah, you will go ahead because you would know exactly.
Right. I will tell you. I'm just jumping in here to tell you. So I submitted I was coerced, I would say, and encouraged strongly by Mr. John King to give him the copy of the screenplay, which we don't normally do, Miss McClean. And I told him that, and we were back and forth, but he convinced me. We became good friends, and I sent him the script. So that's how the script got into
the public domain, in the public service.
Well, into them. Yeah, go ahead.
Into the hands of at least one cabinet member.
Good. There you go.
Others. So that script probably titillated somebody's thoughts as to, because, and I say to those people who have not seen the movie, Joseph, go and see it. And later on, I will put in a disclaimer there. I would encourage you to go and see it. I have a serious interest in that movie because I really was taken with what. And so at the end of the day, Rose and company, people saw the script. And at the heart of the script was somebody who was of Maroon ancestry. And if you know the history of West Africa and the Caribbean and Jamaica and Maroons, etc., you would understand the connections with Africa. And somebody sought to take ideas from that script. So I don't know that there was any long story about getting into, talking to the Ghanaian government and so on. So, people do things to get hot and sweaty. I like that expression. We got some good Bajan expressions. So you rush off to do something. And that's why they would have probably consulted with Marcia, because ideas were borrowed from her movie script. And I dare anybody to tell me otherwise, because we have had this discussion since 2019. And it was known that part of that film was going to be shot in Ghana, and it was shot in Ghana. And I made it my business to go. Marcia can fill in some of the details. It was shot in Ghana. It was shot in Accra, in Cape Coast, where they went to the castle. And it was shot in Kumasi.
Yes.
Where, because of that, Marcia, I will say it now and show off, I got to meet king of the
Yes.
Ashanti people.
Yeah, Ashanti
In
King,
fact,
right?
I must send you, I saw a video with his son graduating from high school the other day in very princely form and very, it was interesting. But the reality was that it was known that there were elements of that movie which spoke about return. But difference between the returned Africans that Marcia spoke and of whom she paid tribute in the movie and recognized, and she can give you as I have always told Marcia, there's a story behind that story. There's a film behind the film. But I digress. So the difference there was that these were people who expressed a desire to return. What we did not have was the return of any known former, African slaves. So that is where it digressed. But the reason was that they were trying to get ahead of what the film producers were doing.
Yes.
That's what it was. It's as simple as that. And it was done. And what made it worse was when you look at the footage of what transpired, there were a set of people who got beside themselves and were sending images out before they, so a whole set of things went wrong. As I tell people, the keepers of our protocols, we talked about emblems, those things rest with the Prime Minister of Barbados and the people in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So, I understand a little bit about some of these things. So I would say to Rose, don't try to understand, exercise too much intellectual energy trying to understand what happened. As I said, monkey see, monkey do. And there's a saying that it was running through my mind, Marcia, as I was preparing to come on the show. I will come back and I would use it later. But sometimes when you try to imitate, you mess up. And there's a saying that was in my mind and it will come back in a minute, So I really would want to say that in all of this, there was serious respect given in the production of that film to what was done. And there is my friend, the uncle in the movie,
Yes.
And so I think at the end of the day, the other saying that I would think is, you start wrong, you end wrong. And
Correct.
that is the unfortunate reality in relation to what has happened. Now, on the positive side, Marcia, because I don't know, let me pause and see if there's anything you want to say before.
What I wanted to say was that and I said a little bit of this with Mrs. Corbin, that when we went to Ghana, as we were researching the script, to write the script, I was told about Miss Minnie, the Jamaican who took the enslaved, the remains of the enslaved woman Crystal, and brought her to Ghana. And they had, in that particular instance, Ms. McClean, they had the historical connection between Crystal and Ghana. They had the history. They had, everything was proven. Right before they could have taken, and so it took years and lots of challenges. I had the opportunity of interviewing Miss Minnie's daughter and her family, and also the people, the Jamaicans in Ghana, who were trying to make it happen. So it was a lot of research. That's why they could tell you the story of the enslaved. Right now, if you look at this picture, Dave, if you go back a little bit, you see this casket that is in the picture, because we were recreating, in a sense, we were recreating Miss Minnie, right? What Miss Minnie did. If you look at the casket, it's wrapped with the
kente cloth.
With the kente cloth. That's how all of if Dave could go back a little to show them, that is based on the research I saw, my fellow Barbadians. All of the caskets were wrapped with the kente cloth. The big question that shocked me when I saw it is, why Why was the one, the casket that represented the enslaved person, which is a whole gimmick? Why was that casket also wrapped with the Barbadian flag? That is the mystery. Look at this. We did this. This is being done true to form, folks. This is how it's done. This. Pause right there. Barbadians, the question to ask, Miss McClean, why? Why? Why did it have the Barbadian flag, and why was it lowered in the ground? Somebody asked the question, was it buried? I can't say it was buried. I wasn't there. The person in Foreign Affairs that had called me initially, Dave, if you could keep it there, please. That's Alison Hines there on the left. There, that's the female that you see there. It's Alison Hines. Now,
and on her right is that's Chantel, isn't it? On
Chantel,
her right?
yeah, Chantel is to Alison's right.
Right, yeah.
It's Chantel, the singer, Chantel
Lane.
Lane. Okay. Now, I lost my train of thought there, but Miss McClean, I think that we need to pause and ask the question, why was so different? Oh, I was saying that the reason this was done, it's because when we research it, that's how the others were done. That's how Crystal, the enslaved person from Jamaica that was brought to Ghana, that is how it was done. And this is the truth, I'm telling you. And Mike, the big question that we have to ask the Prime Minister of this country, why was the Barbadian flag put on the over? Rose just showed you that it was, see? You see that? Why? Miss McClean?
Well, part of it is that people, first of all, note what you said. Serious research went into the work that you did in terms of getting to ensure authenticity. Let me put it that way. And I remember when you identified, there was a historian that was trying to remember, because you were able to unearth accurate information. So you properly researched it. You respected the processes and all of these things. And as I said, somebody decided that, they wanted to do something and they wanted to do it in a hurry. And that is why at the end of the day, all the errors that were made. I do not know what went into doing these things. People have been asking questions, and the only people who can answer that would be the people who conceptualize or who decided that they want to do whatever it is they did for whatever reason. But the key point, and I'm happy that you've finally gotten a chance to say to Barbadians, an original idea was part of a movie called Joseph, scripted by, produced by, and director, you are the director too?
Yes.
Directed by Marcia Weeks. She had an international team of actors and support persons. She established good relations between her creative counterparts in Ghana. And in fact, there was something with Nigeria as well, because after the movie was made.
Yes, and also the president of Ghana and the Ghana Tourism Authority.
Right, precisely.
Before the Prime Minister. So that's
precisely. In fact, she established relations with the former president of Ghana before she went to Ghana, and that, as I said, Marcia will tell you the story of that movie, because it is extremely interesting. And it is not, as I said to Marcia, step by step. This is not by coincidence. This is by divine order. And if she takes you through the sequences, the series of things that happened, that allowed Marcia then to end her movie to be the official end, one of the activities at the official end of the year of return 2019, when through the initiative of the then president of Ghana, the movie was shown to end the year of return, and I can tell you that I heard news. I remember because I returned for that, and I stayed on for a bit, and by and so in essence, one of the things is that there was authenticity. And Marcia, just tell them also that the main actor, Joseph, decided on visiting Ghana for the first time. He was going to live there. And he lives there now, continuing to do a whole set of things, including, I think there's an interesting Jamaican restaurant with which he has connections and all kinds of things. So there were very positive things that came out of this. And if people had taken the time to understand what was intended and to go and research, do the kind of research that Marcia did instead of trying to quickly pick somebody's brains. And I'm being very frank, Marcia. I am being very frank. Because you see, you don't do these things halfway, And so there is Our Lady of the Night. Not Lady of the Night. Let me take back that one. The Lady of the Moment. and the head honcho in the making of this film. But as I said, it really is. There's a lot. And there's Kevoy, that's the lead actor. He now lives in Accra. Well, in Ghana. Yeah. I presume he's still in Accra. I'm in touch with him from time to time.
Yeah, but I'm so glad that you're here with me and all of this. I'm saying, you know what, Miss McClean,
there's your lady.
Yes, she's gonna be interviewing me next week. But
I thought it was her. Go ahead.
Yes, you know what, Miss McClean, I am so glad that you are the person here with me this evening. And it's almost like it was meant to be that this issue with the flag was going to come up again. Do you remember that when it happened in Ghana, and I was so furious with the way it was done, and I called you and you said to me, Marcia, don't say anything yet. Leave it alone, because I was going for them. I was going to social media, and you told me this
time longer than twine.
Time longer than twine. It's going to come. It's going to come. And the important thing is that we have the information of what really happened.
There I am, Marcia.
Where are you?
Tell him to go back a bit. Dave, and there's Dave.
Yes, he gave a fantastic speech that night at the premiere in Ghana. And that is them receiving talent from Barbados. This is a world premiere in Ghana, paid for by the Ghanaian government. Not negotiated by the.
There I am, sitting down, watching the movie.
Yes, that's you right there. You're right there. and listen, was not negotiated by the president, by the government of Barbados. So that was quite interesting. And all of that they were trying to overlook all of that. These negotiations were done by us, by the people. I met the president in Jamaica. The president,
in Jamaica.
Yeah, the former president of Ghana. They did everything to cut us out of all of those things, but God allowed me to meet him in my slippers. I ran off the set. I literally was at St. Andrew High School for girls, my alma mater, and I was training and rehearsing Alison Hines, and I was rehearsing Chantel Lane. And they were rehearsing, and somebody came and said, the president is at Pegasus Hotel. You need to go now. He's saying he will see you. I ran out of there in my slippers. Somebody had a car there. They had a car waiting, and they took me to the hotel, Pegasus Hotel, and that's how I met the president. Nobody here negotiated anything for this film. This was done by us with the help of Almighty God. This is how it was done, and I'm so glad that we waited. And what they cannot take from us is the facts. Mr. John King, you know the facts. You know it. They can't take the facts from us. And we didn't make a fuss about it at all. And here we are tonight that we can explain what happened, right? So I think that, but the biggest thing, and somebody said it, and I see Mr. Murray is there in another 5 minutes. And I would love for him to just come in on this. Mr. Murray, good night. We're inviting you in stuff.
Good night, Mars. Good night, Maxine.
Hi, GLYNE, how are you?
I'm good. I'm in pretty good shape. Glad to join you in this matter. I would say that there's a concept, I believe both of you all know that concept, of revisionism.
Yes.
What's you said? What's the concept?
Revisionism.
Revisionism as a policy and a concept. And it normally happens in countries where there's an overthrow of government and you want to change the ideology and all the teaching, all the principles, and all the standing. You want to revise it there. And it seems to me that that's what this government is hell-bent on. Without due regard, without due evaluation, without consideration of the purposes that these practices and symbols and things have stood in the test of time and Bible, just because they want to put their own stamp on things. I sometimes it make me feel that everything we did that was good for Barbados it's in danger of being thrown away because it's seen as quote unquote colonial. Right? Not that we have not had an input into what we call what we are doing cannot be a pure representation or original representation of colonialism. 500 years later, 400 years later, can't be. So it means that we have influenced what we have and has shaped it into the Barbadian persona and the Barbadian identity. That's what we have to recognize. So, but sometimes I wonder, and it's a thing that I had at my back of my mind to probably address properly. But I wonder what gives the Prime Minister the authority and all those wrong who think like her, they think that they know better, that they have come in 8 short years, they have 7 short years, they have encapsulated all the historical collective wisdom of Barbados the last 400 years, and now they know better and they know than anybody else. Why? How? And I think that's something that I would address in a different way. But it's a dangerous practice. And I want to commend Rose for the detailed work she did. I myself was offended by the way they caught even by the way the flag was draped. That is not the correct way. Like Major Braffett said.
You know the gentleman, Mr. Braffett?
We do.
Yeah, a season.
Okay, I would love to get his number, but go ahead. Tell us, how is it supposed to be draped, Mr. Murray?
It's the other way around. It's supposed to be.
The flag should go that way, not this way. It should be. The trident should be lengthways.
At the head, right?
At the head of the,
At the head.
So you would turn it around. So that the trident would be facing. Instead of looking towards you, it will be facing toward it will be switched so that it goes from
north to south, so to
rather
speak.
than across the side.
North to south, rather east to west. Right.
And
all those tassels and whatnot are an abomination.
Not on a flag.
Nothing touches the flag. Nothing adorns the flag. Needs no adornment. You can't gild the lily. The flag is supposed to represent all that is sacred and good, the best of Barbados.
Mr. Murray, take it slower there for me, because and I'm so glad this show is just being run,
like the movie.
Like the movie. So, Mr. Murray, yours, because somebody was saying that in the chat there was a discussion and in the chat about the tassels are not to be there. You're saying?
Not in that format. Not in that format. Not like that. That is not the way
they have bordered the flag.
You've embellished the flag then. The flag cannot be embellished. The flag is supposed to be the perfection of the society. So how can you perfect perfection? What can you do to make the flag more true than it is? You get what I'm saying, Marcia?
Okay. Oh.
So all that they've done there is wrong. All. And I wonder if they're trying that they conceived that on their way to Ghana and punching their head. They cannot have consulted unless the people in the foreign affairs who assuming they consulted them.
Probably they were consulted.
I mean,
Well,
this is
Mr. Murray, if I can tell you this fact, I can tell you this fact. I could tell you the name of the person, but I won't do it. Someone called me, sir, from Foreign Affairs and asked me about how to take the remains. So Foreign Affairs was involved. So yeah, and it's amazing. I don't know why. Oh my God.
Because they figured, Marcia, having read the script, that there were remains and you were taking remains or something or the other, or that you had done the research and therefore a shortcut was to pick your brains.
lazy. Like I just remember people are being lazy. Want to do their work for them. You trust but verify. Even if you would try if there were things you understand, then they would check with you to clarify it. But you don't let somebody, you follow them lock, stock, and barrel and blindly. The person might inadvertently lead you astray and embarrass you. They're just being lazy and not informed. I won't say ignorant, that's not informed and not seeking to be properly informed.
Mr. Murray, I know you didn't come on to talk about this, and you still we took a minute of your time, but do you think, sir, that you know you're 81 now?
81, yeah, 82
Right.
soon.
82 soon. Let me ask you, sir, as an 81-year-old Barbadian, do you think that this should have received what happened here in Ghana should have received more national probably scrutiny and investigation of what happened with this flag in Ghana? Do you think, as somebody even said, that they should face charges or the fines, or how far should this really be taken?
I think you see, nothing happened before its time. Everything has crystallized tonight to have the exposure. This kind of information, had it been known when this occurred, I think you would have had a different result, different outcome. Right? Because people would have had justifiable reason to be offended, to be angry, to be upset, to be embarrassed. But this is sometimes there, but the reaction is still as genuine and real and whatnot. So what we can do is learn from this, hold them for account and make them, let them revise them. Let them revise their account of this and not paint it with the guilt, with the brush, the golden brush that Maxine was talking about. They're trying to form. It was, she said, hot and sweaty. It was something makeup because anybody who's really spent time around the Prime Minister, even before she was Prime Minister, knows that I spent with, like I've said, 9 years around cabinet meeting with and other meetings, and very often she had to be pulled back, hauled back, because they're always in a hurry to do something quickly by a particular time, etc. If not necessary concerning the implications, the protocols, the process, the steps that have to be done, and this is a classic example of that. This was probably something done 2 or 3 days, talked about, let me go and do this, blah, 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 gone, going to Ghana. So this you get out what you put in. This is sloppy. It's an embarrassment to Barbados. And anybody who had a hand in it should apologize to the country. The Prime Minister at some point should come and apologize to the country for having done it this way. I mean, that's hope against hope. But the proper thing to do would be to do that. And I say no more at this stage.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is just an interesting night, the way this has gone. And Miss McClean, we ask if you want to stay on. I'm going to deal with it, just to let the two of you know, I'm jumping in some hot water tonight. After Mr. Murray, I will be dealing with the issue with Patrick King and that post that he's put up with the voice, the alleged voice of the deceased, Mr. Alvin Toppin, and I really want to deal with that. So if you guys want to stick around, I don't want to draw you anything before.
No, I will stay, Marcia, because somebody sent it to me, and I had to tell the person I found it in extreme poor taste. But so I will stick around. I will listen more than say, because
all right, no problem.
I found it extremely upsetting on many counts.
Right. So we will deal with that at that time, right? So guys, we are going to deal with that after Mr. Murray. And but let's go right now into Mr. Murray's presentation. Go ahead, Mr. Murray.
As you see on the screen, my topic tonight is national backwardness, PSV wealth exchange for money. And I'm using a distinction between wealth and money. I am like Maxine's talk about. You're familiar with the analogy about the dog and the bone, where the dog saw the shadow. He was crossing a river. This is what I remember the story. Remember as a little boy, and he looked down and saw this bone reflect the water, and he let go of the bone in his mouth for the shadow he saw. In other words, you go for something seemingly more attractive and meaningful, and lose the real substantial. So to say, where they exchange wealth for money, and I will shortly define from the research I've done the difference between wealth and money. But this is a topic that's been in my head for a couple of years now, and I figured I had to do it because it was getting being pushed back by other events, and I felt that even though the country is rightfully concerned or wrapped up in seeking to grapple with this surge of crime, this orgy of crime almost, I thought to bring this to because I thought it was because what I'm going to talk about has as much implications in a way and can do as much damage to Barbados, or has probably already begun to do so much to Barbados as crime. Probably even more enduring than a crime wave. If it's a wave that has a temporary nature, what I'm saying, what I'm dealing with really has to do with long term. Well, if you look at the definition of money, a tangible medium of exchange carrying a stored value and serving as a unit of account for goods and services. So it's a means of facilitating exchange and life and transaction. That is money. Wealth, on the other hand, if you can bring up wealth for me, Dave. Wealth, on the other hand, has a more fundamental and consequential wealth. Both tangible and intangible assets able to contribute to the well-being, stability, growth, and prosperity of individual groups and nations. So I'm saying, and for a long time we have been seeing and focusing on the PSV, or what we call the minibus culture, the minibus phenomenon activities, because of the indiscipline and the misbehavior, like all the negative things that are they provide a national service, provide a social service, but the implications of the things that have grown out of the activity have done great harm to the culture of Barbados, the popular mass, especially children and people who are easily influenced our culture. But there's another manifestation that we have not really paid attention to, is that the PSV sector did not come out by accident. Maxine might be too young to know that. Before the Transport Board, Barbados was serviced by a series of private concessionaires, Rockland, Progressive, where they were privately owned. And then right, okay. You'll probably know the one that went down Black Rock, Turnout, Walmer Lodge, etc., owned by Mr. Stewart. But in 1955, those private concessionaires wanted to hold the country up to ransom by wanting to increase the bus fare. And Grant Lee Adams, who was the premier, then said no, the country could not afford it. It was too hard on the public. And he nationalized the service. That is how we got the Transport Board, right? And so it was then supervised and managed by government. They said on fares and routes, etc. There was until then, when Grant Lee Adams and Tom Adams became prime minister, he came up with the process of the PSVs, where it was intended that, as he had observed from his talkings to me in London, where the black cabs, the famous black London taxi cabs, there's a permit, which I'm not sure in his time, his idea was a permit would become an asset, which was meant to generate intergenerational wealth, where you can pass on to your children, your grandchildren, and keep that sector as a source of wealth creation for the black Barbados, because he said that the white sector of Barbados had the big businesses and the plantation, the land. There was an Eastern side, the Indian quarters, for use of a term, people from India, the Arabian states, who had their businesses, and the black persons had no businesses, and they needed a source of generational wealth. So the permit was intended to be kept within families in order to be passed on from generation to generation over a long period of time. And he got, I remember he got a good indication that the money that was being generated by the people in the PSV sector, when he was preparing, when we were preparing for Archive Fest in 1981, he had a meeting with the PSV sector to ask them to come up, make a proposal and what they'll charge, because we had to have vehicles to transport the delegations back and forth to various events and whatnot. As a matter of fact, there's an ad in today's newspaper from quite coincidentally, from the National Country Foundation inviting applicants to make contact with NCF to be able to provide these same services under certain conditions. So he asked them what they would charge, and he virtually the charge, and he gave them virtually what they want. He said, "Okay, this is what you said you make on a day and a week. I accept that." But then he used that information. He's realized that if according to him, this is what the wealth that they were generating, the money, the finances that they were generating, therefore they could pay higher license fees, and therefore increase the license fee based on their own information that he gave to them, and therefore he felt that his father had brought about political enfranchisement by giving the right to vote in 1951. He wants to bring about economic enfranchisement so that people could pass on. Because we've had a traditional problem in Barbados where very few black businesses ever survive more than a generation, perhaps 2 generations. So so rather than not only intergeneration, but it would intergenerations between 1 and 2 generations, transgenerations across, which could go on for a long. He wanted to see that happen. He wanted to see that happen in Barbados. Not just on the reality, because you can't just give people political enfranchisement, political power, and let the inequalities in the society financially, wealth-wise, retain. You're sowing the seeds of dissatisfaction and resentment that which led to 1937, and this would have been all over again. So therefore, he put this program in place with the PSVs in order to create this vehicle for the generation of wealth in Barbados. And you might understand why am I bringing this up now. There have been persistent reports over the years that the people who originally owned the public service vehicle permits, who are the working class Barbadians, that it was gradually slipping out of their hands and control for one reason or another. I don't know if Maxine herself had heard these stories, but there was I think this would be a separate. I will do it that next time, but they were losing control. In other words, the means towards wealth was being. They were losing grip and losing that thing. Maybe through the fall, because they were selling. They were supposed to be selling and leasing and lending, all kinds of arrangements. And therefore, it was defeating the purpose. And that is something I look at next week, because this sector is supposed to be managed and supervised by the Transport Authority. Barbados Transport Authority is a separate entity which came into being in around 2007. They bring regulation and discipline, etc., etc. So we would have to examine it, explore why this moving away from the philosophical moorings, from the realistic and practical considerations to benefit Black Barbadians as they disperse a generation of wealth. And we're talking about on property. Money is money. I was wondering, MAXINE would know they're saying, I've never heard the average Barbadian say somebody's wealthy yet or rich. They say, he got money, she got money. As though in our mind, money, to have money is to be wealthy. But in truth, wealth involves property, stock and shares, investment, much more than the money. Money is transactional, and it doesn't have the debt and the security and the longevity as well, right? So I think as though because we see, I think I would speculate that because we have this traditional way of saying once you got money, that there's enough. That people have been enticed, lured, whatever it is, to sell, lease, get rid of, transfer. They said, rather hold on to the wealth generating, they fell for like the dog jumping at the shadow or losing the bone. So the money is the shad, the bone will be the wealth. And I think that might have been contributed to the attitude in that regard, and among other factors which I will talk about next week. But I thought, therefore, that it's important that we pay attention to this thing, because while I was able to get some information, because this is not a small issue. I was able to get information only about a year ago. There were nearly 10,000 permits, 9,700 something about a year ago, permits that had been granted. So this is a mammoth. And while it was meant that it would be there would be single-owned permits, they've been consolidated into groups, companies, persons, etc. And there's no doubt that the wealth and people who, the black Barbadians that I know of who have done well, who've had some of these permits, have done well. Some have built garages, built apartments, and who their children have become big out of the wealth, the money generated out of things, and they've invested it in long term. So if you then give up this, you are giving up that means of generating long-term wealth for you and your family, your descendants, to another group. And we already said the black Barbadians were we had experienced a quiet political and social revolution through the power of the right to vote, right? Through adult suffrage, political everything. Barbados changed its behaviors and its objectives because we were able to elect governments that were not working for themselves and the money sector, but for the masses, and they've improved the country. Nobody can deny that. Whether even as colony happened, and we are better society today because of that. Because to give up that ability, we have to go further and look at the economic inequalities. Here we are, the majority of black Barbadians, but control the wealth in the country. So this was an attempt to try to equalize the situation, to remove that distinctions. But if then, to do others, if this is reversed, if this is cut short, if it is diverted, if it's perverted, if it's corrupted, it means that we divert Barbadians now and future will be the worse off. And that wealth will go in other direction, which already have wealth that has not existed among the majority population of the black population. And therefore, I feel that this is something we need to examine. We need to examine. It has a lot of social implications. There's no secret. If you study the profile of the public sector, of the PSB sector, look at the organizations. There's one organization now where the president and spokesperson is an Indian. There was a time when the spokespersons or black Barbadians, the officers, there was and the ownership by the Indians that I'd heard about was in the background. Now they have apparently so well established themselves that they're accompanying the public and be the face. Other people fronted their face. So now that tells you something is what's happened with that source of wealth. And I think it's an area that you have to pay attention to. Otherwise, like I said, we will pay the price long after I'm gone, probably long after we're gone. And there's and then we have to ask by what means has this mammoth switch occurred? Has there been political involvement? Has there, because when we talk about the Indians, we normally talk about Indians as one monolithic group, but they're different. They're the Hindus, they're the Muslims, some come from India. Then we tend to lump person with the same physical characteristics as all Indians when some come from the Arabian states, etc. So what we call them all Indians. And they themselves, like I said, possess their medicines. And it will be, we look to we become even a greater minority, probably at our own extent, because the persons who control the political system have been black. The people in the transport authority has largely been black. So how is it? How has this transformation? How has this shift occurred? Next week we'll read. Next week to give you an idea what are the responsibilities of the transport authority. How it's supposed to be the things it's supposed. Okay, sales and leases and transfers should only be done through the authority. In fact, they're not right through the authority, not on any individual basis. So how has this massive, for what I understand, transfer of ownership occurred? Who was complicit? Who was complicit? Well, facilitated along with the coming of the Indians to Barca, make their contribution to the developer buyers. They made money, they contribute, and they benefit from it. So they're right. It is fair. They sell and trade it to the benefit of Barbie. They made money, fine. Just like the white state, just like some blacks who find no problem with that. But from all appearances, from what I've been able to research, certain practices came with that. A different race, a different culture, a different business culture, different practices which had not been traditionally known in Barbados, and therefore have those things that we've heard about informally. I'm not sure how much literature there is. I don't know if Maxine knows. You spent time in the business world and management world. If there are any studies done on this in Barbados, I've come to any conclusion. But to what extent have these things changed the character and nature to make this transfer of wealth possible? Those are the questions that should be asked. And what can we do to reverse it? If the system is wrong, correct the system. I know that if you read the online material about the operations of the transport authority, they have specific goals, objectives, processes for interviewing people who, if you apply for a permit, you should have an interview in the interviewing pilot and process, meeting circle. Right. So if that is so, what would have facilitated this to bring about this thing? And it is something that that like I said, repeating myself, but just for emphasis, we need to pay attention to it and ask some questions, do some investigations, hold them people account, because it's a backward step. It really is a backward step. We're reversing. Here was a ready-made source of wealth that has gone away.
But Mr. Murray, I mean, excellent again. I just have to. Can we just say, like, we have the best panelists, okay? And our panelists and our guests, they prepare. I have to just say it. I mean, look at the material tonight. Look at the material tonight, folks.
But Marcia, did you listen to the note I sent? Because we did not have any consultation, and if I had not gone off to talk about them, in fact, there's a link. But I want to share this with GLYNE quickly.
Before you share, we have 6 minutes in this segment because I promised the people that I am going to talk about Patrick King, and I will be doing it in 6 minutes. All right. So this is Mr. Murray would have had his full segment. So go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say to GLYNE, when Marcia asked me today what was on my mind, And I said to her, I really did not have a chance. Well, like this morning, until I came home from church this afternoon, because I ended up visiting my a relative in hospital and some other things. But I said to her, I was going to look at the newspaper. I went over to my sister's house this afternoon, and I took up her Saturday Sun, and I saw a couple articles. The first one was this article here. I don't know if you can see the title from there. Well, it's backward, but it says, "Same rock, different rules. My turn to talk." Sharita Odell. And this is Michael Howard's daughter.
Put it up again, Miss McLean. Put it up. And if anybody out there, could they help us with the show? Come on, viewers. You can get can give us a virtual copy. What's the word I'm looking for?
Electronic copy.
Electronic copy. Thank you.
And it's yesterday's article, "Same Rock, Different Rules" by Sharita Odell. Yeah. And she's talking about and I just read it very quickly. Say, from such a small island, we are fascinating social cocktail, mainly Black with smaller Black, influential white and Indian communities, each navigating financial life in uniquely patterned slippers. The way we earn, spend, save, and invest is deeply influenced by history, culture, and, let's be honest, trust, or the lack of it. And then she goes on to talk about the Black majority, a legacy interrupted, the Indian community power in the pool. And then she mentioned, of course, the white minority, the silent inheritance. The other part of this paper was dedicated to yesterday, which was Cooperator Day. That's where cooperators, International Day of Cooperatives. Let me give it its proper title. Yeah. And anybody who knows me, I talk about the power in pooling. And what I wanted to do was to link that with some other things I saw in today's paper, where the Minister of Energy and I think Business, Senator, what's her name again? Lisa Cummins, is talking about creating opportunities. And the first thing that came to mind when she mentioned this trust entity was these $5,000. Now, at the end of the day, GLYNE has touched on something very quickly, Marcia, that I will come back to because it fits in nicely with a whole set of things, even what we were talking about earlier, which is the orange economy, to use the labels that they like to use, the creative sector, and what support there is or otherwise. Now, at the end of the day, I was reflecting, GLYNE and our audience, on the fact that within a few days, this academic year comes to an end. The university students have completed the academic year already, but for schools, secondary and primary schools, the academic year comes to an end. And I was searching frantically this evening to see if I could find some numbers on the numbers of school leavers, because we're talking about wealth creation. We're talking about opportunity or lack of it and the shifting, because GLYNE, you have touched on the PSV sector. But if you look at the housing situation, rental housing, there's an interesting phenomenon taking place there as well. But I go on the street. Only today I commented about it. I was talking to my nephew. I was driving with one of my nephews and I was talking about it. And I noticed a number of cars, very expensive cars on the road. Most of them are reconditioned cars. And I said I have to take a minute, because if I had time this evening, I would have done it as part of the research I'm doing for this. Because I can guarantee you that when you do an analysis, because there was an item on the thing saying mortgage, loans have, loans by, I think, financial institutions, including credit unions, have gone up in terms of mortgages. But I am sure that if you do an analysis of the amount of money being loaned for cars, is an extremely high amount of money. And part of the problem is, for me, people are buying these vehicles, and some will say out of necessity, but my question is, do you have to put that kind of money, or what is happening? So in other words, what I'm seeing happening, GLYNE, is that people are using their monies to consume. Our people, when I say our people, the Black majority, are using their monies to consume. And there's this immediate spending for the now and so on. but the opportunities for wealth creation, and I think that you've drawn that important distinction, is not happening within the communities, starting with the families in a lot of instances, and certainly it is not being facilitated as best as it can by the business sector nor the government. And I think so there are three elements in there. And I think the time has come for a mindset in how we look at these things and how we act. And I think
Yeah.
you've touched on
We'll have to take that out, continue that
another.
on another, because
Right.
we talked about the flag instead tonight, but that's all right.
No,
Mr.
that's
But
Corey,
if I can
take a
just quickly
minute
say,
and just wrap up this segment.
yeah,
Thank
just quickly say, Marcia, that Maxine has drawn a very, before even knowing it, you have established a very important connection and parallel between the PFC sector and cars and land and whatnot and rent. I think you talk about rental and whatnot. There's a whole different, which we can explore next week and show you how much has changed in this society, right? How much cultural and financial and how cultural practices have overstepped and the devices being used to get advantage, et cetera, and consolidate people's position. That is something we could talk about next week.
Yes, yes. Very, very, very interesting. And as you were talking, I said, "Whoa, look at what happened tonight," because this was what Miss McClean, looking at it from a different angle. And we have the article, Miss McClean. Somebody sent it to me. Thank you to that viewer who sent the article to me. That we're gonna, we promise you, we're gonna go into that a bit more. Most definitely. Well, Mrs. Corbin had said she wanted to say something about this, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this particular topic. I don't know if Dave, can you check the private chat and just please, yeah. But I was given I was sent a post, a Facebook post this morning, and I read it and I listened to it. I had to stop in the middle of it. I just could not believe what I was hearing. I was shocked, Barbados. I was really, really shocked. And on the show once before I came on the show and mentioned the name. Actually, I mentioned Patrick. I spoke about Patrick King twice. I can remember on the show. If I'm wrong, you probably know more than I do. I remember 2 times. And once I came with my passport and I showed you because he was other stuff he was saying. But what I try to do with when it comes on to Patrick King, for those of you who are telling me, Marcia, don't give him any time, whatever. I don't normally give Patrick King any time at all. I don't even listen to his posts. I really don't. My husband would tell you this has been going on from the pandemic. I started to, and then when every time I heard him going back and forth, I'm like, this is getting me giddy. One day he's saying something else, one day he's saying something else. I literally got giddy. And I said, I'm not listening to this man anymore. So I normally don't listen to him. For those of you who are telling me, you're wasting your time, don't give him energy, whatever. The reason I am bringing this up is because I believe that there is a grave injustice that was done to someone who is now deceased, who is no longer with us and cannot defend himself. And anybody who knows anything about me, I cannot, nowhere in my body, I can deal with any forms of injustice. Once I see it, I must speak about it. And I was disturbed this morning. I could not believe that I was listening to a voice note which appeared to be a private voice note, and it's being alleged. Some of it doesn't even sound like the voice of Mr. Alvin Toppin to me, because I've listened to him, I've interviewed him, but it's supposed to be the voice of Mr. Alvin Toppin. And it was him speaking a lot of according to whatever the voice was saying. I want to go over all of that because what we're trying to do is to not to give that power as well. But what I'll say is that somehow Mr. Patrick King, in his mind, believed that putting out a voice note like that would give his party, the Barbados Labour Party, a political advantage. So Mr. Patrick King put out a voice note, a private voice note of someone who is deceased, only a couple of days. Family members are mourning. And you're going to put this man in controversy. You are going to take this man private voice note, put it out for political advantage. You know, I was let me see if I could find this here, because I saw something yesterday on D2's this man, what's it called? D2 is his name. He has a Facebook page with he has a lot of people. So they somehow thought
Is David Davis is his name.
David
D2.
Davis, thanks, yes.
Right.
They somehow thought that that he was now, because on Facebook you have, and on social media, there are particular platforms that push a particular narrative. All right, just like with us, we take an opposition stance. There are others who push the government, and often some of these often you will see that kind of thing on you know, a couple of these large platforms. However, I must commend David Davis, and I'm going to send this to you, Dave, and if you can put it up, because he put it up, I can put it up on here. This is what David Davis says, and this is Patrick King. I've asked the people, ask you to listen, Mr. King. Mr. King, this is what David Davis said, a way younger man than you are. Someone who has not seen all of life that you have seen, Mr. King. I'm not going to call you any names on here tonight. I'm calling you Mr. King tonight. Mr. King, David Davis says, why would anyone post an audio of Alvin Toppin at this time for political points? He goes on to say, you mean to say not even in death can one avoid politics? Have some respect for Alvin's family and loved ones in their time of bereavement, na man. Cha. And he put D2 love. And that's what Barbados is saying to you, Patrick King. At this point, Mr. King, you're being a nuisance. Mr. King, the people, and if you look under the posts, the people of Barbados are fed up with this kind of behavior from you. It's inappropriate, sir. You're an adult. You're a man with children. You even posted that you're not feeling that you're sick. And we on the show prayed for you, sir. I am kindly asking you, sir, to remove the posts. You might never listen, but I'm speaking on behalf of the man in the grave and on his behalf of his family. Remove the post that you did not get any permission from Alvin to put out, and we don't even know if it's his voice. Suppose his family decide to investigate. Remove the post and apologize to his family, please. This is atrocious. It's deplorable. And I'm appealing. Thank God for David Davis. The others of you on social media, I'm using my platform to condemn it. But David Davis did that yesterday before me. I didn't even know what it was what it was about. Until this morning, someone sent it to me, which I have not shared, and I will never share it because this man who's in the grave did not give me a message. Now, I saw you went under my post, Patrick King. Number one, instead of addressing the wrong that you did to the deceased and their family, you, number one, try to deflect. Oh, don't worry, you're all getting 30-0. Sir, have you hit your head? What does that have to do with the post and the fact that the post is just wrong? What does that have to do? You're now talking about nobody's talking about politics. Will you shut up for a minute? Nobody's talking about politics. Mr. King, we are talking about something that is human. We're talking about what was done to this man who was deceased. Can you allow him to rest in peace? You then compared it to Mr. Arthur. Said on this show, we're not letting Mr. Arthur rest in peace because we are repeating his what he said outside of Parliament in front of the media. The media was interviewing the late Prime Minister, the former Prime Minister Owen Arthur, God rest his soul. And he was being formally interviewed. And I don't know if he was in that capacity as opposition leader at the time. I don't know. The others will bring the context later. But what I am saying is that you're talking about apples and oranges here. This was a private message, alleged private message. Mr. Arthur could have been the person that called the media. We don't know. But the point is that it was a public statement. What was done was not a public statement. You are dead wrong, inhumane, unjust. And I wish the family would investigate this because you had no permission from the deceased man to put that out and bring him into controversy. David Davis, you have thousands of people on your platform, and I honor you tonight for doing the honorable thing. And I'm calling on other social media personnel, whether activists or whatever you call yourself, to denounce this. And ask Mr. King to remove the post and apologize. Let us have some justice and some decorum about us, please. Thank you. I know Rose had mentioned that she wanted to say something. And Mrs. Corbin, are you on? Can you turn on your mic? She's not able to turn on her camera because she's not well.
Yes, please.
Yes, you can go ahead. And then Miss McLean, I don't know if Mr. Murray wants to get involved. Yes, he want to get involved because I don't want to bring anybody in any fight that they don't want to be involved in. So go ahead, Mrs. Corbin.
Yes, please, Marcia. And hello, Maxine, and hello, Mr. Murray.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good evening. I didn't know, Marcia, that you were going to speak again until I saw the headline, the caption. And I don't listen to Mr. King. In fact, when people ask me, do you know of Patrick King, or you heard what Patrick King said, I would ask, who is it? So after time, you got curious and you would listen. But what Mr. King has said And when I heard of Mr. Toppin's passing, I remembered, I don't know if you would recall Maxine as someone within the party. When his announcement was made, the announcement was made that he would be candidate for St. Lucie, I remember some mean things that were being said. I did not know who's Alvin Toppin. I'm out of touch. I don't go to parties, and I don't know these things. And I pulled up here when the announcement was made, and you could tell that Mr. King is just a voice amplifying what others would have said. There is something that is sick in Barbados, and I am seeing all the hundreds of condolences coming out for Alvin King. And many of them would be from the other side too. I saw a nice write up from NCF, and it is well deserved. But they're hypocritical. While he was alive, some of them dismissed him as a potential candidate. And I am reading here. One person said, "What does he know about St. Lucie?" Somebody replied, "Born and I live up there." Few congratulations came through. Somebody said, "The circus continues." Wow, there's no honesty in insurance. Interesting. Another one said, "Well, Alvin Toppin know about politics. He should stick to DJing and radio." And it went on. Laugh out loud. He'll DJ some music in Parliament. This is when he was living. The kind of insulting behavior that pervades Barbados. Sorry if I'm passionate. I did not know the man, but this was my response. Um, Stoops, somebody else put up, and it went on. It went on with those what I would call insensitive comments. It is only after his passing. Look here. I read what Rosemary Allen would have said when he was announced. His qualifications when she was introducing him. And these are so when you hear Patrick King, these are people who are being used in life and used in death. Barbados, I have never seen such partisan, insulting behavior as in these recent times. And I'm sure that it would have affected in some way Mr. Toppins, the late Mr. Toppins. It was, I don't know, Maxine and GLYNE, if you all are feeling what I'm feeling. But to say that he wasn't a suitable candidate, and I learned later the gentleman, I'm trying to pull up here. The gentleman held excellent qualifications He went to school at Harrison College. If I could pull that one as in terms of his educational background, he had some qualifications in business from universities in the UK, not fly by night university qualifications, and here we are, here we are. And they're going to come out and they're going to sing the man's praises when they did not feel that he was good enough to enter the House of Parliament. He was only a DJ. And the insult is only a few that I would have pulled up around that time when the announcement was made.
Yeah.
So Mr. King, it's just as I said before, he's just amplifying, being a voice
Voice,
of
yes.
mischief that would have occurred even in the man's lifetime.
Lifetime,
And
yes.
I so wanted that, Mr. Toppin. I so wanted a gentleman. In fact, I was awakened quickly, Martin. Let me tell you this.
Yes,
I was
quickly, because
awakened.
we have somebody actually calling. I told them we'll call them back
I'm
because this is
sorry.
their
I'm
time. Yes.
sorry.
Real quickly. Yeah. Just complete
No,
what
no,
you're
you
saying.
go on. Let take the caller. But I
No.
am saying I so wanted him to
Mhm.
recover so that he could be start the battle up in St. Lucie and let it be a downpouring through the rest of Barbados. May God may he rest in peace. But the hypocrites now are going to come out and say how good he is when they were so insulting and denigrating and meaning and full of meanness towards him as a candidate. And Mr. King is just continuing that meanness that I cannot identify with.
Yes, yes. Thank you. Very well said. Miss McLean, a short comment and then over to Mr. Murray because we have two
I will
callers
make it
calling
very
back.
short, Marcy, because I think that people like Patrick King and the people on whose behalf he speak are a vile bunch of excuses for human beings. There is absolutely no reason. Well, I don't know that Mr. King was any friend of Alvin. I don't know that. And even if he were somebody to talk to him, I don't know how he got what appears to be Alvin's voice. And I will not question whether it is. I will say, assuming that it is. Why in God's name, unless somebody in government was taping the conversations of Mr. Toppin, and I believe that that is very much possible, given all that has been happening, that you would take that and forget the content, because I'm not going to get into that. It is utter disrespect for my late brother and comrade and his family.
Correct.
Talking about Mr. King, he talks about his daughters. Alvin has a daughter. And she lives in this country.
Exactly.
And she hears things. For crying out loud, what kind of gutter creature are you, Mr. King? You get paid, and you've talked about earning from the government, so I presume that you get paid for doing this. But don't you have any boundaries? And I say to all Barbadians who have sought to circulate that, have respect for the dead. Put yourself in people's shoes. Understand what it is to lose a loved one, a colleague, a friend, a brother, a father. And in trying to do the nastiness that you're doing, you are not hurting the living. You may exasperate them, you may anger them, but you are disrespecting a decent man who has not even been given the opportunity to have his last rites.
Yeah.
And you behave like this. I really, all that I've heard, I am not going to get into more of that, because I think that Barbadians are losing their sense of decency
Yes.
and what is right. and what is wrong. We
Yes,
saw the
yes.
nonsense about a flag today, but when the head of this country, the head of government, because we have a head of state and we have a head of government, when they can do some of the nastiness that they do, and I call it nastiness, because Mr. King is not acting on his own behalf. He's acting as a I call it a political pimp for people who feel that they will get some partisan political mileage out of nastiness. And if that's how they want to be, go ahead, but think of other people. I told you earlier that when we mentioned our clothes, and I told you that this is part is mourning for my brother Alvin. But I also am dealing with the death of a close in-law of mine. I understand what grief is. I understand what death means, and sudden death, things that you don't. I don't say gone too soon, because as a practicing Christian, I do not know how and when, but it hurts. But when you lose someone suddenly, it does. But when you behave as if you are some animal from out of the deep, some dark place, to come and behave like this, I really am sick and tired of what this country is becoming or has become. And I say it has become so not because of young, misguided criminals or whatever. They are taking the cue from the top. And you may hide behind mouthpieces. But what mileage do you get from vile behavior, either done on your behalf, whether it is direct instructions or people doing it because they feel they will get brownie points? Give me a break. And I say to all of the Barbadians, including a friend of mine who sent me about that voice note, to haul and pull up and think about your personal situations and ask yourself, if that were your voice or the voice of a loved one or friend or child or mother, sister, brother, would you want to circulate that? Have some respect. And this is not only to King, this is to all the Barbadians who feel that they must send those kinds of things around. You're a sick bunch of people when you participate in this crap. Yes. And I think, Marcia, we need to tell people that is what it is.
Yes.
I am sick and tired of what I am seeing from so-called educated, intelligent professionals all across the board, Barbadians.
Yes, yes. I just before Mr. Murray says his piece, I just want to say, this is exactly what Miss McClean said this evening. Is exactly why I chose to do this evening, because we need to understand and remember what is decent and what is right. Okay, so somebody's got to bring us back center, and that is not decent and that is not right. Go ahead, Mr. Murray. Thank you so much.
Let me get back in. Yes, thank you very much, Marcia and Maxine and Rose. I fortunately do not participate in so-called social media. I've never participated, so I don't have any regard for it, because the social media in Barbados has replaced, before the technology that allows it existed, the gossip, the bad talking, the bad mouth would take place in person, in a rum shop, at a standpipe, in the bus, on the telephone. But now you have this platform where everybody wants to perform, and because of the perverted sense of importance. A man called Andy Warhol said in 1950s that eventually everybody will have their own 15 minutes of fame. So they're all seeking attention. And Patrick King is you hear about a hard hand, a hard gun. He's a hard mouth. So I stopped listening to him after he was taken care of in the courts by David Ellison. So I don't listen to him anymore. He has not learned his lesson. So there's nothing. Somebody sent me that posting you're talking about. I refuse to listen to it because Mr. Toppin was a very good friend of my son Stokely. As a matter of fact, he always would credit Stokely of giving him the first job, the first gig in the DJing. And then I got to talk to him on the phone for a couple of times. Probably last time was about 2 weeks ago. And may I say that he is easily one of the most equipped persons I've seen, one of the best equipped young person who's prepared himself for this role. When they talk to him and they ask him certain questions, point, he either did it, he knows about it, and he was very, very organized, very structured, very prepared. And I think both St. Lucie and Barbados will have suffered a tremendous loss about him. I prefer to remember him. I don't want to hear. Please remember that the technology there allows AI to simulate people's voices, exactly. So you don't know what to trust that word. So I don't want to hear it. I just want to say that it's a big loss to Barbados, to St. Lucie, to the DLP. But he was a young man, only 52, 53, still a relatively young man of quality, head, organization, effort, work ethic. He had all the characteristics of making a good member of parliament. He's one of the he's one of the best I've dealt with in that regard, and I've been dealing with him for over the years, and I think that's a very high compliment. And he will live on in those days, and not to the thing are just flotsam and jetsam and garbage on the public side. Say. So that is how he will pass. He will wash away. He will go in the gutter. He will go in the trash can in public esteem, because that is all he is.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Murray. We have Barbados' youngest man on the line. Mr. Victor Young is on and wanted to give his thoughts on this segment. Good night, Mr. Victor Young. It's great to have you calling in to the Marcia Week show. Go right ahead.
Yes, sir. Good night. This is Victor Andre Primer Young, Barbados top senior athlete.
Yes, sir.
Now, I want to make a comment because the guy, Mr. Toppin, a decent guy who was in the profession that I was in before, which is the insurance business, he's a decent guy. But when you speak about the guy who tried to relegate people, he has a part, it appears to me, he has a part in VOB because they allow him to come on whenever he feel like, do as he like. But he don't come on Mondays when Mr. David Ellis is on. Because, he still has something there pending, right? But anytime a guy is not raised by his mother or father, and it is alleged that your father killed your mother, then the things they got to get and look at. Now, they can't come after me, because anytime they come, they got to bring the fact. But you expect anything different from that gutter rat? He's a gutter rat. And a prostitute, a political prostitute. He hangs around people who are just like him, and people who believe that he could come and talk things about people. He won't come after me. Because he would have to come after my face. You heard me?
Yes, I heard you. I heard you, Mr. Young. So you
he has no quality. He's nothing for anybody to listen to. And whoever he is representing, whether he's doing it for a party, the party and the different thing, and the party may have got some of the same kind of people like him. How could you come and speak about a guy like Mr. Toppin? He doesn't have the credentials to speak about Mr. Toppin. Yeah, he has no credentials to speak about anybody. But the people on VOB allow him, because when I try to get him on VOB to try to check what he's saying to make him understand he's a total clown, they ban my number, they hide my number, so it's all me. But when you go and you prayers up, like some of the moderators that like prayers, some of the female moderators, you give them the prayers so them is like talk as he wants to talk. You understand?
Yeah.
So you can't expect anything better or different from a guy like him.
Yeah.
You must be raised by your mother or father to have any respect. Anytime you is it alleged that your father...
Well, we don't, hold a minute. We don't know that, so we don't even want to repeat that, okay? So, well, thank you so much for calling.
That was said by Naked Departure.
Yeah. Oh, but we don't know. That's not that we can't repeat that
We
on
said
here.
alleged. We're using the word
Allege.
alleged.
Okay. Well, but still, let's
Just
not.
let it be. Don't repeat that, Victor, please.
But Mr. Young, I just want to thank you for calling. Really, and I love to hear the seniors, but you're a young senior.
Yes,
To
I'm
hear
getting
yourself.
myself ready now for Utah.
For Utah. Okay,
Yeah.
wonderful. Well,
I'll pay my way and go up there. My daughter will make sure I'm up there. She'll see after all my expenses. So I'll be up there representing me, though, not Barbados.
yes.
Representing me, go Barbados. Barbados, pretend that the guy got me to represent. I'll be representing me. Me.
Yes. All right. Well, we will have another talk about that, okay?
And I'm still the Barbados King, the champion. You know that.
Yes, we know. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. You have a good night. Okay. Thank
too.
you. Yes. Okay. Bye-bye. That's Mr. Victor Young, y'all. I tell you, these these folks, these elderly folks, they say what comes to their mind. But I think we have another caller. I'm going to set it up because they called, so I have to now call them back. Yes, but yes, we have another caller coming in, folks. The number is there, 236-7000. That you can call us, 1-246-236-7000. Go ahead, caller. Good night.
Good night. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. If you could just speak up a little louder. Good night, please.
Right. Yeah, hi. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Yes, good night. Good night. We can hear you much better. Go ahead. We are going quickly tonight, so make your point very quickly. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Good night to the esteemed panel, Sister Maxine, and to the brother there. Good night to you, sir.
Mr.
night,
Murray.
sir. Good night.
Yes, Brother Murray. And I quite agree with everything Comrade Maxine has said. Mr. Alvin Topping, whom I know personally for a very, very long time, even before he decided to go into the insurance field and whatever, when he first got his DJ gig from back in the days of Malcolm X, and we go way back then, the days of PLA shit, warehouse and etc. He was a very intelligent, straightforward, passionate person. And about life, he brought an energy on like no other. I would have given a tribute online and to that fine young man who I was privileged to know. And to have a political prostitute such as Patrick King try to tarnish the good character of our faithfully departed is just unspeakable. And he should be made to apologize, not only on social media, but publicly to his family, who has every right, because I know some members of the family, they're very angry about it. I mean, how could you? I mean, how far do people need to go to make a political point? On what? How would you like it if somebody did that to you? And it has been very angry, so forgive me how I sound, because I mean, I get this person. Because it could be any one of us. It could be somebody coming to Sister Marcia, Sister Maxine, right? Or Sister Rose Corbin. You know what I mean? How would you like it if somebody did that to your daughters that you brag about? So, if you want to attack something, attack what's going on in the educational system, attack what is going on in the agricultural sector, attack your government who has failed the people from 2018 to now 2025, and they have no alternative to help the young people who seem lost at this moment. And it's our job on Marcia Reach Show to help them find themselves back again. That's what we're going to continue to be positive and not negative. So that one is for Patrick King and his bunch of lackeys, including who running the country now. Thank you all.
Yes.
Have a blessed night, Marcia. Keep up the good work that you're doing, and don't mind what I say to you.
Thank you.
Don't mind what
Thank you. Yeah. I'm thank you so much. Thank God he's given me a thick skin. I don't worry about that. I laugh about it. I'm here defending the family of the deceased and the memory of the deceased. That's what I am defending at this point here. There's another call that has come up there, and oh boy, this person called home many times. Folks, 236-7000 is the number to call. We only have one line. Okay, so if you hear somebody on it, you know you can't wait. All right. Okay, could you turn down your devices, please? Thank you.
Good night.
Good night. Good night.
Marcia,
Yes, good night. Welcome.
Marcia to the panelists.
Yes.
Stephen Strickland to Lucy.
Oh, Mr. Strickland, I did not recognize your voice.
I know you might not recognize my voice. I still have an obligation to speak
Yes.
tonight, and that is the man Alvin that I got to know only, unfortunately, even though he's my cousin, from January of this year. And we met at the Ideas Forum at the Darrell Jordan Secondary School because it was, as it were, a partisan political meeting. I never expected him to be there, but the man was bold and he attended in the midst of all that was being said and whatever else. He never left until way after the meeting finished. We would have had you would have had the motorcade,
Yeah.
especially the Crosville area, distributing water. He was there distributing water in St. Lucie. We would have had the motorcade through the entire of St. Lucie. Mr. Toppin was there distributing water.
Yes, sir.
When we had, he investigated the Allendale pumping station. He investigated it and brought to our attention the flaws at the Allendale pumping station. When there was the town hall meeting at the St. Lucie Parish Church, he attended and he spoke in the midst of the Minister of Finance and the representative. This was a man that had class. This was a man that had class. And therefore, for anyone in Barbados to try to destroy the image of the man, that's impossible. I remember him, one of the things I admire about him also, just prior to the common entrance exam, there are those individuals who distribute, the clipboards and pencils and so forth. The day prior to the exam, he distributed financial gifts to this. I'm particular at the Ignatius Bar Primary School. In other words, he would have known that a lot of the parents would have had their clipboards by that day. So he gave them a financial contribution, and I'm certain that if he was alive for the graduations in St. Lucie, he would have played his part. So that, it is sad, and Maxine, you really spoke what I believe a lot of us as Barbadians are sensing right now, the depth to which our country has fallen and continues to fall. I pray that we do not join that kind of behavior. And most of all, I want us to stand up and speak boldly about this kind of behavior so that individuals know that this is not the Barbados that we were accustomed to, and this is the Barbados, and this is not the Barbados that we want us to continue to be. So, I am, when I came home Wednesday from praying fast and heard that Alvin died, this thing hit me so hard. Okay, so I'm just saying that this was a man that had class. Okay, he had class, and therefore, for any person to try to bring him down in any way, it is impossible, because you cannot change history. You cannot change who a person is by trying to degrade him. Yes. So that is what I would want to say tonight.
Yeah, but very well said, sir. And you are a family member, aren't you?
Yeah, his Alvin's grandfather and my grandfather were two brothers.
Mm-hmm.
His father was a police officer, Alan Toppin. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember his brother's name now, but he was raised in St. Peter rather than in St. Lucie. But, as I said, as obviously he came from good start. And you for me, why would persons try to degrade? And it Alvin was not even fixed a length of time that family members would have prepared themselves to some extent is dead. No, it was relatively sudden. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Do we understand grieving? Okay, have any of us, all of us, had some form of grieving in our family? Let's really be sensitive. You know what I'm saying? Let us raise the standards in Barbados. Let's go back to the old landmarks that we had. And it's important to proclaim to be a Christian and is engaged in that kind of behavior. I mean, that is what really hurts. To be indicate that you are a born again Christian, and then you are seeking to that level. Is that what Christianity is about? Not the Christianity that I stand for, unfortunately.
Yeah, wow. Thank you for speaking up as a family member. Thank you so much, sir.
You're
God
welcome,
bless. Yes.
Marcy.
Yes. Wow. And I know people are saying that he's getting too much energy, but what I think a lot of you are missing is go back to listen to Mr. Strickland and what Miss McClean said. And what all of us, what we're saying, we're speaking to a society, we're speaking to where we have come, Mr. Murray, where somebody's, this is just so wrong. I knew I had to talk about it. I knew I had to, just like D2 did, just like David Davidson did. I had to use my platform to address this. Go ahead, Mr. Murray, as you wait on next call.
Yeah. I just want to say that having been in communications and most of my life and studied, etc., one of the spin-offs of this technology is that because people perform and they want to get likes and hits and followers, they all compete with each other to be ridiculous, outrageous, nasty, vicious, because that gives them attention and people get paid for it. So what you were saying now is the traditions, the practice, the standards, the norms that obtained before this technology no longer apply because they have other goals and different objectives in pursuing it. So this is why so much nastiness goes on in the social media, because the people want to make, quote unquote, make for themselves. They say who get paid by the number of followers and hits and likes, etc. So it's also commercial, and people make a quote unquote name for themselves, always been as offensive and nasty as well, because I think it helps to make the profile on Facebook or the social media more effective. Not hearing you.
Not hearing you, Marcia.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. Someone said, that it was there was a formal announcement from the NCF, and is it from the government or the BLP, sending condolences, and so we want to take that for what it is. That it's that they sent condolences, that was done at that level, and I want to appeal to those who represent the BLP on social media to condemn this behavior. Those of you who know yourselves, you're on social media and you're always representing the BLP, along with Mr. King. He represents the BLP on social media, to condemn it, because it's not right. It's not Barbadian. It's wrong. It's like we are going about our business without a soul. We are losing our soul. To everybody, let's take it. I don't know if it was the BLP. Somebody could correct me, or is it from the government? Somebody please. But a statement was made and condolences were already sent. So any workings underneath by BLP operatives, the others should correct them about it, because it's wrong. Rose, any thoughts while we wait on another call? Mrs. Corbin.
Yes, I am in agreement with what you were saying, Maxine and GLYNE, and I said it, that there is a kind of insensitivity and meanness
Yes.
that we are experiencing, we're hearing. And I'm very sorry, but I must say that it seemed to have been given permission by party loyalists and supporters who were right. And we're hearing it from the highest institutions after the church. We're hearing it coming from the Senate, the upper house. We hear it from the floor of parliament, and we were given a deluge of it, like torrential rains from the political platform over the last by election. And it is getting worse. Not worse. I'm not into the superlatives now, Mr. Murray. I'm into not the comparative. I'm not comparing anymore to say it was bad and no, it's worse. I'm into superlative. It's at its worst. And I wonder what more is to come. Patrick King, Mr. King, is just only as I said, vocal. Maybe he may be the most vocal. But if you listen to some of the comments, say when a post goes up from the nation or Barbados today, and it presents an alternative view, it presents um, say the leader of opposition said something or the opposition senator says something, you should hear the vile, abusive comments. Will they be protected from that cybercrime bill? One wonders. Or will they be fined? It bothers me the nastiness, that the nasty comments, and I'm so it's regrettable that we have to use Mr. Topping, the late Mr. Topping, as our focus and subject here of such meanness. What
Yes.
has become of my country, Barbados? You remember it was Lord, what's his name? Mr. Murray would know that gentleman with the lovely Mark Lord is his name. My country to me.
Yeah,
Do
my
we have
lord.
to do we have to change those lyrics because I am seeing I don't know if I'm seeing Barbados through um rose tinted glasses of the past. I don't know. But surely at this time in my life, I had not expected a country like this. And I will say it is it is driven by partisan allegiance politically. You like that way I presented it, Mr. Murray and Maxine, you
Very
know?
elegantly put.
Yes. Yes.
Right?
So we
That's it.
are, yeah,
Thanks.
right, yeah. We are 7 minutes, Mrs. Corbin, and I just want to, well, thank you so much. Thanks to everybody. I want to let remind people that we have the line is still open. We could take another one or two calls. It's your time, and we don't want to go over too much in your time, the people's time. This is your time to call in. So feel free to do that. But while I'm waiting on someone on people to call in, Mr. To the panelists who are on here tonight, somebody said something to me although I don't know, I didn't listen to all of it, Mr. Murray. I started and I stopped. It just felt like you're not supposed to do this, Marcia. Don't listen. But I don't know if it's even Mr. Toppin. However, this is what somebody said to me. Said, I listened to the voice notes. They seem to be taken at various dates and times. Could it be that Alvin's phone was tapped? Just a thought. Maybe other persons' phones are also tapped. How else would one be able to get this information? And it is something I brought it up because we have been talking about some of these measures that are being implemented, or policies then to curb crime, and because of the increase in crime. And so we've been looking at some of the dangers of tapping, wiretapping. But I, for one, know, I believe that my phone, I've said that for years, that my phone is tapped. I've always felt that, Mr. Murray, I've always felt that my phone is tapped. And so I live like that. And I know that it is, but I always say, I don't have anything to hide. But go ahead,
Yeah.
Ms. McLean, I think, wanted to say
No,
something.
go ahead, Maxine.
Go ahead.
Oh,
Ms.
okay. Yes, Marcia, but I actually said earlier in my comment that I suspect that his
Yes.
phone was tapped, because I don't understand how you would be having a conversation with somebody, because it would suggest a personal conversation, and that person could be so disrespectful and vulgar as to tape a conversation. It is like you call me or Glenn called me to have a conversation, and I tape it and then share it. Either somebody set it up, as you said. If you listen to it and you don't, I would suggest you don't even bother. But if you do, it may very well be something patched together. And whatever it is somebody listening to a conversation about which they should not have had access, or to which they should not have had access, or well, certainly if it's a personal conversation, the individual who chose to record that is just as vile as the people who pass it around, and in the case of just as vile, or worse than Mr. King, because if you are having a conversation with me, it's a conversation between the two of us, And so I don't even pass on people's cell phone numbers without getting their permission to do so. If somebody called and said, do you know GLYNE Murray? Do you have a number for GLYNE? I said, give me a message and I'll pass it on to him, or I'll ask him permission to share his number. So how do you share conversations? But the person, I can tell you frankly, it has happened to me before. My phone, I remember when I used to do the call-in programs, I used to have people listening on my conversations, and I deliberately set up something and it came back to me. You understand? And the only way it could have come back to me would have been somebody listening, because it was somebody with whom but that continues. That continues.
And Zara is saying, Zara Campbell is saying, can it be AI? And that's another thing too that
GLYNE mentioned that, I think, earlier.
We don't know what it is. And I would
say,
guys,
it is nasty.
I would say, guys, don't share that voice note, and you don't need to listen to it. You don't need to listen to it. Out of respect for the dead, don't listen to it. Let the man rest in peace. Don't listen to it. Don't share it. Delete it out of your phone. It is wrong. It is wrong. Mr. Murray, final comments, and then we're going to close.
As like you were both right thinking Barbadians, as I observe the degradation that continues to pervade Barbadian society, I make no apologies for saying I've seen Barbados rise from the 50s to its height, and I'm seeing its decline. That is a fact of life. And so a lot of what you were saying is a manifestation of standards and values, what expectations and behaviors, but nothing, and quality of degradation of quality of leadership. You've heard me say, I don't believe it is the country's role to run the government for and give me any advice. And I hold fast to that. So, but nothing brought it home to me so forcibly as I think it was last week when We had a big announcement from out of an ideas forum. Apparently, some young child suggested the idea of a national cleanup day. And the Prime Minister latched onto that as though it was original. First thing ever, and she made it, we have a national cleanup day. For a child, a 9-10-year-old child, and that is worthy of your consideration. Where's your minister? Why should that be? But only that, it underlines that I grew up in an era, Maxine loved too, when cleanliness was next to godliness. When around my house in Chavgat, in that neighborhood, there was spick and span, the grass was weeded, there was no bush, whatever. No, but we did it ourselves. But now you don't call the country to come and clean up a gully, which means that there's a standard of dumping and being littering that has been taken from your norm. You have to reverse that first. Otherwise, you'll always get to the dump in the gullies. Have to start from the homes and the society, the community, and that otherwise this big grand announcement. So I was embarrassed. I really was embarrassed that that could come across as being so magnificent and original and earth-shattering when it's an everyday. It used to be an everyday fact of life for Barbados. Oh, poor Barbados.
Yes. Well, thank you so much to our three very able panelists. We pray for you guys. We do. And we thank God for the three of you and all of the others who take the time out to come and to present. It takes time, folks. And I want to acknowledge that and say thank you. What a phenomenal program we've had. We've been having quite some awesome programs, and they're just getting better and better. And because of the work you guys are doing. And I just want to say on behalf of everybody, a huge thank you to you. Tomorrow night, we'll have Mr. Reverend Dr. Ferdinand Nichols will be on. I might be co-hosting with him. He doesn't even know that yet. We have someone from Jamaica who is on, and he's a lecturer at the university, and he will be quite interesting, giving you his version of Lord Prime Minister. It's a quite interesting discussion tomorrow night. You don't want to miss tomorrow night. You don't. Everybody outside of Barbados, they have not drunk the Kool-Aid, and he understands even more than what we understand, and so he's going to be on tomorrow night, and so we have a big interview tomorrow with a Jamaican educator tomorrow, and don't miss it. It's going to be really an eye opener, folks. Thank you all so much. Thank you to Dave for the prayers and for the technical work. Thank you, the encouragement, everything. And to everybody who joined tonight, thank you. And folks, I just want to say that we don't need to use this time to go and badger Mr. King online. We don't need to do that. Yes, you can refute what he's saying, but we don't need to badger him. I'm hoping that something good can come out of what was done here this evening, because it's very important. This is very important that this is done. And I hope, Mr. King, that you are watching and that you would do what the public is asking you to do. Okay? Thank you so much. God bless you. Go ahead, Dave.
And beauty that surrounds us, we share it day by day. Because that is my country to me. Mark Lord, ladies and gentlemen.
My country to me. That is the children's laughter. And genuinely loving each other. That is my country to me. It is the air I breathe. And I'm so proud to be born here. The love, the beauty that surrounds us. Ooh, we share it day by day. You see, that is my country to me.
Oh, I will not look down.
Hey, I will always keep my head up high
And shall be bright in the street. Oh,
people will always respect what God means to me. Yeah, yeah. Ah, I will not look down. I will always keep my head up high.
and shall be bright in the street. And people will always respect what my business means to me.
Hey, look around all over town. All the happy faces, all the people in the happy places, people. That is my country to me.
Bye bye, everybody. Good night. This is so beautiful. Bye bye. Good night.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Thank you.
Good
Thank
Good
you,
night.